Hi, everyone. Welcome to my new series um, that I want to start posting. This series has kind of been on my mind for a while, and I kind of began to like workshop it a little bit. I actually decided because of what the first video is about that I would kind of let it just be and just start because I think that's an important message to like all of us right now is to just start whatever it is that you've been wanting to do. And so, what I've been wanting to do is talk to you guys about perception. And I want to start a series that kind of circles this topic because I think it's so deep. It can apply to anything because we all perceive. We all perceive and we all are perceived. Okay, so we're going to talk about the perception of perfection. And I think that this topic has stunted my growth in a way. I think that I spend a lot of time consuming media and imagining what I could do with my life instead of actually doing it. And I think that has to do with my perception of what perfection truly is and how I perceive that perfection, but also how other people will perceive that. So, this video is a great example. I kind of half wrote out ideas and scripts of like what I could say, but I found that just talking leads me to a destination. And I think that that is a beautiful thing. And I think that a lot of people process things verbally. And I love to process things verbally with the people around me. So I want to process things verbally with you guys. I'm not saying that anything I say in this video is right, but I think you can kind of like stumble upon something that truly is inspirational or that applies to somebody. And I think that if you watch carefully in your life, that happens all the time where someone says something that you're like, whoa, that's the thing that I needed to hear. So I'm just kind of putting more voices into the ether and sharing a little bit more about my thoughts and how my brain works. I want to start off with this quote that I wrote down, and it says, "The expectation of perfection towards others doesn't only impact them, it also traps us." And so I just wrote this down while I was thinking about what I wanted to talk about when it comes to perfection and how we expect it for ourselves, and it becomes this little paradoxical situation. I love the word paradoxical. I don't know if I'm ever using it right, but I do love it. But I think it creates this paradoxical situation where I think that someone else wants to see something in this perfect form. Like if I'm going to share this thing that I do, I need it to be perfect. And again, I'm experiencing this now as I talk. I'm like, is what I'm saying a cohesive thought? Like, is it good to present to others? Does it make sense? Is it up to my standards? And I think if your standard is perfection, you might end up never sharing anything because you're so trapped in the cycle of, is this something that I want to share that other people will think is good and perfect? And that expectation on others, like the other people perceiving it, their definition of perfect is different than yours, and their definition of complete and successful and good is different than yours. So the expectation of perfection that others have towards us, which I think is very apparent in this society, is a projection of the expectation we have on ourselves. And so because of that, I think that my thing needs to be perfect. So when someone else creates something, I'm like, that's not perfect. How could they create that and put it out in the world? But that putting it out in the world when it's not perfect is one of the bravest things that you could do. And like this, honestly, it kind of brings me to another point, and it's a topic that I also want to bring up um, in a later video, but it's the perception of passion. And I think that this topic is also very deep and very rich in content, but I think it's the concept of people who go for it even though they might not be as passionate about it. So like if I love music, I love writing songs, and if my song, I'm super passionate about it, if my song isn't perfect, then I don't want to put it out in the world as that to represent me. It's the same with writing. I love writing. I don't want to put something in the world that doesn't perfectly represent me. But I think there's a freeness to being not super passionate about something, because when you're not super passionate about it, it's like I can just put it out in the world and then move on with my life. And those people reach this level of success, and you're like, babes, when I looked at that, I didn't think it was that great, but people appreciate it because it doesn't have to be perfect for it to be good. It doesn't have to be up to your standards for it to be good. And that is a lesson that I think all of us need to learn. And that is a lesson that I'm trying to break through the brick wall of perfectionism, because even now I'm thinking about editing this video. I'm thinking about putting it out in the world. And I'm like, do I make sense? Do I sound good? Like, how do I cut and edit this to make it make sense? Because it does feel like I'm just talking. But I think that being able to put this out, because I am passionate about sharing cohesive thoughts, and putting out something that isn't cohesive or perfect is is a statement in its own. It's a talent in its own. It's brave, and it's fighting through the fear so that you can really live in the passion, so that you can really live in the freedom of something that's not perfect. So that's kind of what's been on my brain today. There's a couple other questions that came to mind when I was thinking of the topic of perfection. And the first is, what is embarrassing? What is it to be embarrassed? And I do think embarrassment truly lies within the individual. Like, it's truly not embarrassing if you're not embarrassed. But, the secondhand embarrassment can almost be as influential as me being embarrassed myself. Um, and I think that's also the trap of being perceived. And I think I feel trapped in being perceived so much, even if I'm not truly being perceived as much as I think I am. If I trip and I'm like, oh, that wasn't that embarrassing, and then the person next to me is like, that was really embarrassing, I would change my perception of that situation. And I think it's honestly reinforcing your security within yourself to be able to overcome. And I think the concept of perception connects to so many different facets of who we are as human beings. And that's why I thought it was an amazing topic to like talk about, because it's truly something that I think personally has been controlling me. And so I think that we should kind of step back and think about what it means to be embarrassed and what it means to fight through embarrassment in order to get to where you want. Because honestly, I think the fact of the matter is that you're not going to get anywhere unless you fight through those things that scare you, those things that are difficult or hard. I was watching a video about a girl who wrote a book that she was hyping up on TikTok. I don't know if this is old drama or new drama. I don't have TikTok anymore because I need to protect my peace. But I do love watching discourse about things that are going on. And she put out this book, hyped it up. People were behind her 100% until the book dropped. And she was self publishing, and she was a young girl, young woman. And she put it out, and it wasn't perfect. The quality was not living up to the expectations that she had presented when she was talking about it. And a lot of things ended up happening because of that. And she received a lot of judgment, and people were very harsh on her. And because of that, let me preface this by saying I think there's a line when it comes to the judgment we have on others. But I think a lot of that harshness that came, the feedback that came from, was not from like towards her, was not only from the people who had like experienced a loss of like, I paid for this book and it is terrible quality, but it also came from the people who were scared to publish or to put themselves out there the way that she did, and they projected that onto her. And people who wanted to create and who are already kind of on the fence about creating, in turn, we're now like, oh, I don't know if I would ever want to put anything that I've created out there because of how cruel this world can be. But I think this world is so cruel because we are all trapped in this weird cycle of perception and the perception of others and perceiving others. Because I could spend so long watching somebody who's been working years and years create content and be like, that's amazing. And then turn around and look at myself in the mirror and be like, I could never produce something so amazing. So why would I even try? And I think the route to healing starts with the individual person, not everybody as a whole. I don't think society overnight is going to be like, we should be more gentle on people. We should be more gentle on ourselves because when you find empathy for yourself, you are also finding empathy for everyone that struggles with the same things that you do. When you have no tolerance for those things that you don't like about yourself, they will bug you till the end of time. So, another question that I have listed is, what does it mean to know who you are? And this is a big question. It's about what you want. It's about what you're hiding from. It's about self-discovery, and that's always going to be a deep subject. But I think that knowing who you are can also free you from being so like scared. I think being able to find yourself helps you find others. And that is huge in a world where identity is a brand. I will say that I'm the first one to be like, ooh, a trend? That seems cool. And it's so subconscious for me where I'll be like, oh, I truly like this until the trend's out of cycle. You need to figure out who you are so you're not falling into the traps of these cycles and becoming one of the masses. Because I think pools of individuality coming together creates diversity. And diversity is a beautiful thing. The difference between us is what makes us special, and our experiences is what makes us different, and it makes it so much deeper to connect to one another. The kind of lesson that I want to bring this video to a close with, I heard this quote somewhere, and I wish I could like truly cite things, but things come into my brain all the time. But I found like there was a quote that said, "Be a verb, not a noun. Be comfortable in change. Be comfortable in movement." And I think we as a society have become a little stationary. I think I've become very stationary and I am trying to change and grow. But that's kind of like the challenge. Something else that I want to challenge anyone who's watching this video is to create something imperfect. That's what I'm doing right now. I'm doing it. So then you go and do it. So I'm taking on my own challenge, and this isn't the only imperfect thing I'm going to create today. I'm going to create a lot of imperfect things. And you're kind of come to the realization that almost everything you create is imperfect. So get comfortable in it. The last thing that I want to close out with is, I know there are a lot of creatives in this world, and I want to kind of present to you the challenge of creativity because it truly is a muscle. I'm in my senior year of college, and I have let so much of my creativity die while kneeling in front of academics. And it has drained my happiness, and consuming instead of creating has drained my happiness. I don't know, I feel like one of those characters from Wally that's in the chair and just constantly being fed like some types of entertainment of like perfection. And I don't even know if that's a proper quote from that movie because I haven't watched it in a while. But I truly feel like I am in shackles and I need to be freed. And the key is right next to me, so I might as well. So I challenge you to, if you're a creative, work that muscle. And I think everyone's creative in their own sense of the word. It's going to be different for everyone, and that's cool. That's cool. So, whether it be writing, singing, dancing, guys, I want you to create. Stop listening to Sabrina Carpenter and create something. Like, I love Sabrina Carpenter's music, but guys, we have been fueling other people's creative ambitions, and I'm so happy for their success. But I want a world where people are not scared to create things. They're not scared to be different or quirky. The concept of cringe and quirky being looked down upon, quirky's a little weird, but cringe, if you're being cringe because you like something too much, guys, what happened to the depth of humanity? What happened to passion? What happened to truly actually loving something, just loving something without shame? I think that we as a society should do better when it comes to stuff like that. I don't know who I'm talking to, but I'm verbally processing and I'm doing it imperfectly. So, thank you. Thank you so much for watching. I will, what I'm doing for my creativity will be on this channel. I want to continue this series. I have so many subjects around perception that I think are going to be really fun to talk about. And maybe I'll look back on this video and be like, girl, I need to revisit this because I love that we were trying to do something imperfect, but quality, please. So I'm so happy to be able to sit down and talk. And I've been putting this off for so long. So I hope that you guys enjoyed or learned something or kind of got where I was coming from. And there is more to come. So bye.